What is up, guys? This is Mecha, and I am bringing to you part 3 of Fire Emblem Pitfalls, finally. And the first pitfall that I want to talk about is overemphasizing growths. In Fire Emblem, every character has hidden values that determine how likely it is that they will level up in certain stats. These are called growths, and they have one for each stat, including a strength growth, speed growth, HP growth, and so on. Now, growths are often the first and sometimes the only thing people look at when deciding whether a character is worth using or not. But there are so many more things that determine just how useful a character is, and most of them are more important. First off, bases. Let's look at the speed of two characters, Bartray and Dorcas from FE7. Bartray's speed growth is 40%, while Dorcas is 20%. So Bartray must be faster, right? Well, Dorcas has a base of 6 compared to Bartray's 3, so Bartray is playing catch up to Dorcas at a rate of 0.2 points of speed per level, which means it takes him 15 levels just to match Dorcas in speed. And this base deficit is very significant. Bartray fails to double even 0 AS soldiers at base level, and it also gets him doubled by enemies that have 7 speed or more. Joining time also matters a lot. FE6 Carol, to take it to an extreme, has some of the highest growths in the series, but he joins so late that it doesn't even matter. Even if he had more than 1 level up to gain, there's just no time for him to grow or contribute anything. Anyone using a Durandal can one-round kill Caineghis, so that's not unique, and they're just about the only enemy type left to face. Carol also has had less time to use boots than your other characters, so he will fall behind anyone who has been shopping for shoes with Milady. I'm convinced that if Carol joined with +1 in all of his stats, but a 100% less growths in every stat, a lot of people would think he's worse, but it would actually make him slightly better. A more interesting case would be something like FE7 Marcus against Kent. Marcus has 11 base speed to Kent's 7, but Kent's growth is nearly twice as high, 45% versus 25%. Marcus also gains EXP slower per battle, but he joins a lot earlier and he can see a lot more combat than Kent since he can survive more enemies. So which one of these is faster? Well, Kent technically catches up in speed to Marcus when he promotes. Kent might be worse at base, but he will match and surpass eventually. But then we've got to consider how much it matters. FE7 enemies are very slow, even in hack to hard mode, and Marcus doubles so many of them regardless of his disadvantage. And his other stats are much more competitive. With the 19 level ups and a promotion, Kent still averages slightly less strength and resistance than Marcus, and although his skill and defense are better, it's not by much. Marcus still also has those superior weapon ranks to consider. So long story short, if you just look at a character's growth to judge them, then you're not getting the whole picture. Very viable characters, particularly pre-promotes, tend to get the short end of the stick if you do this. Second pitfall is going to be not using stat boosters optimally. So, as I've told you, it's a better idea to use your valuable items than to hoard them, but using them correctly is a new thing entirely. A lot of the time, people try to use stat boosting items like Angelic Robes, Dragon Shields, and Speed Wings to patch up a unit's worst weakness, with less than stellar results. Take a unit like Lucius, for example. He's known for having poor defense, so the best way to fix that would be a Dragon Shield, right? Well, Dragon Shield only gives him +2 defense, so while it improves his stat the most percentage-wise, it doesn't really do much for him. Defensive stat boosters are only really helping you if you're making a unit die in less hits than he usually would, but Lucius is still going to get 1 KO'd or 2 hit KO'd by the same things. So what concrete advantage does Dragon Shield give Lucius out there on the battlefield? Same kind of thing goes for Speed Wings. +2 speed seems like a great way to help a slow unit like Gilliam, but does he really gain anything from this? What enemies is he now doubling that he otherwise wasn't? Most enemies will still have speed around his level or higher, so it's not increasing his damage output much, if any. So how do you make the most of your stat boosters? Well, generally you should use them to boost middling stats. Units that are close to certain benchmarks but don't quite make it are the best candidates. Dragon Shields and Angelic Robes are nice for units that you want to expose a lot on the enemy phase, but don't survive quite as many hits as you'd like. They tend to work really well on mounted units, even flying ones. Examples include Kent, Sane, FE10 Jill, and most Pegasus Knights. They have enough durability to survive some hits, but the defensive boosters tend to add more. This will allow you to use them more often on enemy phase, and as a result they will get more battles in, get more experience, and thus grow faster. And before you know it, they will turn into juggernauts. Speed Wings are great on units that are borderline doubling, but not quite. They just need that little extra push to get there, and they also have the durability to make use of it on enemy phases. FE8 Kyle, FE9 Boyd, FE10 Boyd if he gets a speed transfer, and FE10 Har all make good use of the speed wings. Energy rings, they go best on fast units that don't have enough strength to 2-hit KO. I'm recommending fast units because a unit's strength is effectively used twice whenever they double attack, so you're getting 4 extra damage per round of combat instead of 2. The last pitfall that I want to talk about is weapon weight. It's just a small thing that I wanted to discuss at some point in Fire Emblem Pitfalls, so I might as well throw it in here. So before FE12, every game's weapons featured a stat called weapon weight. The idea behind it is that units cannot just use heavy weapons without slowing themselves down. So in FE5 and the GBA Fire Emblem games, there's this stat called Constitution that determines how well units can lift heavy weapons. The more Constitution, the less you are weighed down by using a heavy weapon. If a unit has 10 speed and 5 Constitution, they can wield weapons of 5 weight or less without losing attack speed. If they use a weapon with, say, 8 weight, they would lose 3 points of speed, since the weapon is 3 points higher than their Constitution can handle. Some people seem to treat this Constitution like a hard limit. I don't want to use my Raven with axes, because they're too heavy for him, so instead I'll give them to a unit with more Constitution, such as Harkin or Dorcas. The problem with this reasoning is that you're only looking at the fact that Raven is getting a stat penalty, but not how big of a penalty, nor how much it hurts him in practice. You can use something heavy like the Steel Axe and still double quite a few enemies without breaking a sweat. Meanwhile, even though Dorcas can use most axes without losing speed, he doesn't have much speed to begin with. So when it comes to attack speed, having more speed is always better than having more Constitution. You shouldn't be afraid to let fast units use heavy weapons if they need the attack boost. A unit with 15 speed and 5 Constitution is always going to be at least as fast as a unit with 10 speed and 10 Constitution, even though their total is 20 for both. This is because the fast unit can choose to slow themselves down, but the slow unit can never be faster. This is why units like Isadora and Echidna deserve more credit than they often get. Sure, their Constitution is low, but they're naturally fast. If they need more attack power but their speed advantage of the enemy is large enough, they can afford to slow themselves down. Alright, I guess that's it for part 3. I hope you enjoyed watching. Go ahead and comment on whatever site you're watching this, what your thoughts are on this Pitfalls. And I do have some more ideas for part 4, so look forward to that, I guess. See you guys around.